As there is a terrestrial year, so too is there a sidereal year. The terrestrial year is formed by the movement of the Earth around the Sun in 365 days, with additional fractions of minutes and seconds. Naturally, this terrestrial year has 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. The sidereal year is completed in 25,968 terrestrial years, also with fractions of minutes and seconds. During the journey of our solar system, many unusual things occur. Our solar system travels around the zodiac, beginning from its original point of departure. When it returns to that point after having passed through the entire zodiacal belt, the sidereal year ends. This sidereal year likewise has 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Spring being the golden age, summer the silver age, autumn the copper age, and winter the iron age. A race lasts for the duration of the solar system's journey around the zodiacal belt. Our Aryan race, which populates the 5 continents of the world, was born after the universal deluge and will endure until the Aquarian age, which has already begun. Obviously, the journey of our solar system began in Aquarius and will end in Aquarius. Before this present journey, another existed. In that former journey, that past sidereal year, there was another race. I speak emphatically of the Atlantean race. The Atlanteans had bodies even 3 meters tall and developed a powerful civilization. They lived on a continent called Atlantis. The Atlantean continent was vast. It extended from north to south, from the austral regions to the northern lands. The Atlantean race, too, had its 4 seasons. Its spring was the Golden Age. At that time, frontiers did not exist. All was love, and innocence reigned over the face of the earth. He who knew how to play the lyre could move the universe with his melodies. In truth, the lyre had not yet fallen upon the pavement of the temple to be shattered in pieces. Solar dynasties governed. Later came the Silver Age. Everything seemed somewhat diminished, yet human beings continued to communicate with ineffable beings, with the angels of Christianity, the archangels, the principalities, the thrones, and so forth. When the age of copper arrived, the light darkened. No longer did the same splendors exist as before. Borders began to be established, wars began, hatred was born, along with egotism, envy, and other defects. Finally came the Black Age, the Iron Age. Obviously, the Copper Age was the precursor of the Atlantean Iron Age. The Copper Age was their autumn, the Iron Age their winter. In the Iron Age, the Atlanteans developed a powerful materialistic science. They built atomic spacecraft that could travel to the moon. They constructed mighty ships capable of reaching Mercury, Venus, Mars, and in general all the planets of our solar system. The Atlanteans were experts in transplants. They not only transplanted organs, such as the heart, kidneys, and pancreas, but also learned to transplant brains, this being the pinnacle of their transplant science. In this way, certain individuals could continue living in different bodies without interruption, simply by transferring the brain from one organism to another. Atlantean science was formidable. Even today, there exist secret caves in the Himalayas where machines are preserved that can transmit knowledge telepathically to human beings. Thus, the Atlanteans needed no great effort to acquire learning. Their lighting was atomic. We know that in Asia there are caves illuminated by atomic lamps crafted by the Atlanteans. They had learned to harness solar energy. Unfortunately, they also learned to develop sinister magical powers. The Atlanteans, besides being scientists, were magicians. They could build mechanical robots and endow them with an intelligent and immortal principle. The Atlanteans knew well that the elements of fire, air, water, and earth are inhabited by many beings of nature. For them, the elementals of nature, those who in children's tales are called fairies, salamanders, sylphs, gnomes, and so on, were a vivid reality. They still possessed the sense of clairvoyance, and through that sense they could see perfectly. Not only the three-dimensional world of Euclid, but also the fourth coordinate, the fifth, and even the sixth and seventh. Thus they took possession of certain elementals, invisible to ordinary senses, and placed them within their robots. Consequently, those robots were transformed into intelligent beings, beings that served their masters. The most powerful cult in Atlantis was that of the god Neptune. This cult endured for many centuries, but in time, the Atlanteans degenerated. In the era of the Kali Yuga, they possessed tremendous powers. I still recall the case of Ketabel, she of the tragic destiny. Ketabel was extraordinary. She was a queen who became immortal. Whenever a gland grew old or began to atrophy, the scientists removed it and replaced it with another. The Atlanteans not only mastered endocrinology, they knew that the glands of internal secretion were related to the tatwas, that is to say, to the subtle forces of nature, and they understood how to work with them. In this way, Ketabel, she of the tragic destiny, lived for thousands of years. Unfortunately, Ketabel established anthropophagy in Atlantis. Children, women, and young people were sacrificed to the powers of darkness in their religious rites. Afterward, the bodies were taken to laboratories where the glands useful to Ketabel were extracted. What remained was then cast to the multitudes who awaited possession of the corpses. Atlantis degenerated into black magic and cannibalism. The Atlanteans were able to create a mental monster and then crystallize it at will, afterward nourishing it with blood. In the final days, the Atlantean wars were terrible. Nuclear energy was employed, and atomic bombs destroyed magnificent Atlantean cities. Yet in the end, the solar system completed its journey around the zodiacal belt. When that occurred, the axis of the Earth shifted, and the oceans changed their positions. What had once been the poles became the equator. What had been the equator became the poles. Millions perished, and all those powerful civilizations of Atlantis were submerged beneath the ocean that now bears their name. I recall the case of the multitudes who fled into a certain temple. Amid earthquakes, fire, and floods, the desperate people cried to the great priest Ramu, "Ramu, save us." Ramu appeared before them and said, "I warned you. You will die with your women, your slaves, and your children. And if the future race follows your example, it too will perish." Tradition states that his words were drowned by smoke and flames. 3 great earthquakes sank the Atlantean continent beneath the stormy waters of the ocean that today bears its name. When the catastrophe ended, a new race began. Naturally, before the disaster had commenced, a group of people fled. Tradition says that a great master named Vaisvasvata, the biblical Noah, warned the people of what was to come, but they would not believe him. They mocked him, and on the eve of the great cataclysm, they ate, danced, celebrated, and married. The next day, they were corpses. The holy beings who govern the destiny of humanity commanded Manu Vaisvasvata to depart with his people before Atlantis was swallowed by the ocean. Manu, at the head of his followers, escaped. He had to flee during the night. Today, at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, there lie marvelous cities, magnificent palaces, and places once inhabited by human beings, though now they are visited only by fish and seals. When the great catastrophe that ended the 4th race and the Atlantean continent had passed, the solar system began a new journey around the zodiacal belt. Those who survived the catastrophe migrated to the central high plateau of Asia, today called Tibet. There, on that central plateau, the survivors mixed with the Hyperboreans and the Nordics to create a new race. Our race was born after the deluge. Each race, of course, has 7 subraces. The first subrace formed on the central plateau of Asia, then called Hasha. The second unfolded in India, and migrations carried humanity into Persia, Chaldea, and Egypt, where the third subrace of the great Aryan race developed. The 4th subrace was formed by Greeks and Romans. The 5th consists of Germans, English, French, and others. The sixth arose here in Latin America. As you know well, many peoples lived here. In Mexico dwelt our ancestors, the Nahuatls, Zapotecs, Toltecs, and others. In Yucatan, Honduras, and Central America lived the Mayas. The Aztecs, that is, the Nahuatls, advanced through the Isthmus of Central America, so they were warriors, and they reached what is now Panama. In South America existed the Incas with their powerful civilization. There is no doubt that the most powerful pre-Spanish civilizations were the Nahuatls, Mayas, and Incas. I do not mean by this that the Chibchas, Araucans, and others did not have beautiful cultures. Yet it is true that the strongest civilizations were those of ancient Mexico, Yucatan, Central America with the Mayas, and the Incas of Peru in High Cusco. When the Spaniards arrived upon our beloved Mexican land, and generally invaded all of America, they mixed with the native peoples, and from that mixture, we, the men of the sixth Aryan subrace, were born. The seventh subrace is being formed in the United States of North America, and already exists. It is the result of the mixture of all the races of the world. Inferential peace. Samael Aun Weor.